Great White and I are going through our top 10 comic book movies. And we have a mystery guest. Yeah, you don't want to miss this. Things are about to get nerdy up in here.
Nerd, nerd, nerd. Nerdfarious.
I'm Stark, Tony Stark's cousin.
And I'm Great White.
And today we're going to do our top 10 comic book related type movies. Today we have a special guest, Kenny Mesnard, former colorist at DC and Marvel, also a current comic book creator for Bravo Blast Entertainment.
Thanks, Stark. It's nice to be here.
Since you're the guest here, Kenny, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your number 10.
Number 10.
My number 10 is The Crow with Brandon Lee. It's low budget, but it's probably as close to, the comic book as some of the other movies that are based on comic books. Sadly, he lost his life during the movie, and it was, kind of a crap show, but I love that movie.
Nice, that's a solid pick.
That's a good pick.
I like that. That one never even occurred to me.
Yeah, not on my radar either.
Yeah. Okay, this is gonna embarrass me, show my age a little bit, but my number 10 is Spider-Man, the 1977 version.
Oh my gosh! Wow!
I can't help it. It's one of the first superhero movies I ever remember seeing of an actual depiction of the superhero. Yeah, it was a little corny, but I just absolutely love that movie.
You realize there's literally hundreds of movies based on comic books, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But you think about it, the late 70s when we were young,
Yeah.
there wasn't a ton of them.
My number 10 is 2008's movie Wanted. Now, the reason why I enjoy this is from Mark Miller, almost said Frank Miller, Mark Miller comic. Awesome story, great cast, young James McAvoy, Angelina Jolie, and Morgan Freeman. That's my number 10.
Another interesting pick, one I wouldn't have thought of.
That one wouldn't have occurred to me.
Number 9.
My number 9 pick is Guardians of the Galaxy. Proof that you can take just about any kind of character and make a good story out of it. That movie was panned all the way up until its release date, on characters that nobody had heard of except for people who actually read comic books in the 70s, in the 80s. So, and it just caught everybody by surprise. Plus, it's just a really good flick.
Yeah. That was one of those that I think all of us can say, not looking forward to it all, and then when it hit, you saw it, and it's like, wow. Wow. Good pick, man. I'm
Very
feeling
good.
a little inadequate right now, just so you guys know. All right. I chose Batman 1989. There again, it was just one of the real early depictions that felt more like a comic book than it did. Some of the later stuff in the timeline did. Really enjoyed it. It had a feel, the way it was shot. I just don't think it's been mimicked since then.
I don't know what to say about that pick.
You seem a little shocked about that.
It did break ground, definitely.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, it had been a long time since there had been a legit superhero movie, and they kind of busted out with this, and that's what we got. Now, of course, looking back on it, it's probably not as quality as what we're getting now, but it broke new ground.
Well, my number 9 isn't exactly a comic book movie, but it's in that same genre, that same field.
Okay.
And it's probably going to not be one that you normally think of. And that is 1999's Mystery Men. I love this movie. It is a really cool superhero comedy that you had Ben Stiller in. I mean, the characters... And Pee Wee Herman, yeah. The characters are so hilarious. And their names for the characters. Mr. Furious. The Shoveler. The Blue Raja. Casanova Frankenstein. And the Spleen. Awesome.
I can't argue with that. That's a quality.
I have a counterpoint. I find it really hard to take that seriously. I agree it fits. I don't know that it made my list, but what do you think outside the box, Stark? What do you think outside the box?
Number 8.
Captain America. I love a period piece. I love the origin story. Captain America is a great comic book character, and aside from that horrible 70s TV movie they did with him, there was, you've never seen him on the big screen, and I think they just captured the character as he was originally in the comic books. I felt that they just really just knocked it out of the park on that one. So that to me is
Agree with that 100%.
my number
That's
8.
a solid movie.
I agree, but I can't believe it's your number 8. I can't believe it's not higher.
Well, that's because I've got some really good ones higher.
All right.
We'll take your word on that. We will mock you later, sir. And this, I know I'm going to catch flack for this. I chose Man of Steel. There again, I'm not a big Superman fan, but I tell you what I was a fan of in this movie. It's the first time I remember a superhero fight, and I know there's been many other superhero movies, that you really felt the impact and destruction of these superpower beings going toe-to-toe. It was just everything from the way the camera rattled a little bit to the way it was shot. You just felt like that was Superman and he was laying it down. But that's why I chose Man of Steel.
That's a good pick.
No, that's a really good one, and I'm surprised they didn't use him for a follow up for that, because that was such a good, good movie.
Yeah, I thought, I would love to see him come back. I know that they've I don't want to say have it falling out, but there's other projects going on, and I'd love to see him come back because he is Superman. You look at him the way he's built naturally, his face. I mean, that dude was born to be Superman.
Yeah, most definitely. 2005's Batman Begins, the one with Christian Bale. I collect Batman comics, so this is a no-brainer. But I like this because it has Ra's al Ghul in it. And Liam Neeson is playing him. And they took some liberties with the League of Assassins and all that stuff, and as far as who Batman trained with. But overall, though, I like it for Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I agree with that pick. It didn't make my list. It got bumped, but it was really close to getting on there. But I had I have another Batman movie on my pick, and I didn't feel like I should have 2 on there.
Number 7.
Spider-Man number 2, Tobey Maguire fights Doc Ock. I mean, the best depiction of Dr. Octopus you could possibly get, and to me, the second best Spider-Man villain in that canon, next to Green Goblin, which they did not do a very good job with the Green Goblin in my opinion. But the Doc Ock, that's the story and everything else, that's to me the best Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
I agree with that. That's straight out of the comic book, and that character Doc Ock fit where, like you said, a lot of the other ones like Green Goblin and stuff, they've taken too many liberties with, and they're not. I don't believe you get the essence of who they are as a villain. So I agree. That's a solid pick, man. I chose Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot. There again, it was the first time that I've seen a female character portrayed in what I thought was a positive or the correct light. There's been lots of other superhero movies with female characters, but they've almost been reduced to sideline characters for some of the males. Plus, it was a really good movie. That No Man Land scene where she's dude, that's right up there with any other scene out of a comic book movie. That is just incredible. But
awesome.
That's my number 7.
That's a great movie.
That one did not occur to me, and that is such a great one because, again, I love a period piece, and first of all, so just
all right, start lay it on us, bud.
Okay, my number 7 is Flash. He's for every one of us. Stand for every one of us.
Oh wow!
He'll save with the mighty hand every man, every woman, every child with the mighty Flash.
Okay.
I practiced that.
Yeah.
I actually, it was tough for me not to sing along.
I could not.
Yeah.
But that's a good
So,
pick, man.
1980s Flash Gordon with Sam Jones, over-the-top sets and costumes, Queen music, the cheesiest script, and Brian Blessed as Prince Voltan. It doesn't get better than that.
No. No.
I wish I could argue with you. It's one of those movies. It's the corniness level of it makes it what it is. You could tell it was all shot on a soundstage, but it doesn't matter. It's still a good movie.
Yep, the casting of Max von Sydow. I mean,
Awesome.
that's perfect.
Yeah, you pull that one.
You know,
Yeah, nice.
Number 6.
my number 6 is Iron Man. The 2009 Iron Man. As an Iron Man fan, I just loved everything about that movie. It was, he has just enough smart ass, genius, and get to see the armor for the first time, and in any kind of cool special effects way. Yeah, there's so much to love about that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. My cousin Tony did a great job.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't get a part.
Yeah. I mean, premiere tickets or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, spot on, man. Spot on. That's one of those things. You felt like he was Tony Stark. Straight out of the comic books. All the problems, they maybe didn't address him as directly, but you could see all his narcissism on display. Great pick.
And now he's got as much money as Tony.
Yeah, he absolutely does. Batman: The Dark Knight. Some of the stuff I struggled with in that series of movies, but the Joker portrayal by Heath Ledger in there, maybe not appearance-wise, but personality, attitude-wise, I thought it summed up the Joker so well. He does things just because. It's Tuesday afternoon and he felt like doing something. He felt like robbing the mob or whatever it was. I just thought it brought the Joker to the mainstream audience and showed you what he's really about. He's just pure chaos.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
I have never rewatched that.
Really?
I saw it at the theater when it came out, and that's the only time I've ever seen it. I
Yeah.
really like seeing Two-Face, because the Tommy Jones Two-Face they did was horrible.
We don't talk about that.
He's not supposed to be, manic.
Right.
Everybody's trying to be the Riddler, or and
You showing what the Joker's for and what he's about, I don't know that it's been done better.
You're excluding
Before then.
Caesar Romero.
1966. Batman.
Yeah, and I know
I'm not shaving my mustache.
It might be sacrilege to a Batman.
No, I'm joking. No, Heath Ledger did do a great job. My number 6 is actually a second Mark Miller comic book. I was amazed when I was making this list.
Yeah, that.
And it's the 2010 movie Kick-Ass. This movie threw me for a loop. Hit girl, little 10-year-old girl killing mobsters with deadly precision. Yes, please. Nick Cage being Nick Cage. Yes, please. This movie hits everything. I love this movie. Seen it multiple times.
There's a lot to love about that movie. Hit Girl. I love the costumes are still kind of cheesy, like they just made them at home type of thing. But the attitude of Hit Girl and everything is pretty sharp. I did enjoy that movie.
And I'm embarrassed to say I didn't remember that movie.
Number 5.
My number 5 is kind of a nostalgia pick. 1977's Superman. Christopher Reeves, without any other kind of like body armor type uniform, actually managed to pull off a Superman outfit as it is in the comic books, or was at the time. And Lex Luthor, not like the douchey Luthor that they did during Batman versus Superman. Again, everybody trying to be manic.
Yeah.
And Lex Luthor's not supposed to be manic, bipolar. He's Lex Luthor was this evil genius, evil madman type person, and really enjoyed seeing it on the screen. I remember, I could still remember how the credits came on, and everything about it. It was like the first real serious superhero movie that people didn't just like completely laugh at.
That's all. That was one of those that just fell off my list. It really was.
I could see where it wouldn't make people's lists, because there's so much more now, and
Absolutely.
And then the last Christopher Reeve Superman that was in people's heads is, Quest for Peace, which is so bad.
We don't even talk about it. We can't talk about it.
If I could brainwipe myself on having seen that, I would probably do that.
That pretty much erased any good from that whole series with Christopher Reeve for me. But
this is the first one we've done like this on the list so far. I chose Batman Mask of the Phantasm, the animated movie. I have to say, this might be the best portrayal of Batman / Bruce Wayne in any of the movies or the other animated shows. It is just incredible how they were able to capture the essence of Batman and yet have that lighter, that Bruce Wayne side of him. He's engaged to get married. She leaves. There's all kinds of things going there that really rounded out the Batman character.
I didn't have any animated movies on my list, but the whole Batman the animated series is to me the best depiction of Batman in, of all the movies and anything that you might would have taken into consideration.
I hate to say I haven't watched it.
I will say this, Stark. You get opportunity to watch it. 'Cause I think you will definitely like it, being the Batman fan that you are.
I'll have to check it out. So my number 5 is 2017's Wonder Woman, which has already been mentioned. I didn't think I was going to like this movie, but it is a solid superhero movie. Mm-hmm. Gal Gadot is strong, smart, and sexy. Now, as Wonder Woman. And she's almost as hot as Linda Carter. Almost.
They actually have Etta Candy or the sidekick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty obscure. No one who you'd have to dig a little deep in Wonder Woman canon to remember her. And I actually remember that the director of production at DC Comics, his email was Etta Candy.
Really?
Yeah.
Number 4.
Prize that hasn't been, mentioned already, but Blade. The second real superhero movie after The Crow. Crow was in the early 90s, and then, Blade kind of just set the tone for, the rest of the superhero movies to come later. I mean, it was successful. It was done well. It had great casting. Wesley Snipes was perfect as Blade. Looked exactly like him. They had, just great characters in there, and it had vampires. So I mean, what
What's not to love?
How could you?
Okay,
could you not go wrong?
vampires that don't sparkle. But yeah, no, excellent pick, man. I don't disagree with that. That is, yeah, I like it. I know they're getting ready to reboot it, so hopefully it's in that vein.
I liked the movie back then, but it's kind of like the old Superman movie. I don't know if it holds up with the test of time.
I watched it not that long ago just to see. It was on Netflix, and I just wanted to see if it held up. And I started watching it. I'm like, man, this is still really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's
funny you say that. About 2 months ago, I watched it as well, and I believe it was on Netflix. Yeah. And I thought it loses a little over time, but not nearly as much as I thought it would.
It's got great music too.
Yeah. V for Vendetta. If you don't like this movie, there's something wrong with you, because it's got all the superhero vibes. There's an air of mystery around it. You're kind of piecing together what's going on. Of course, the acting is incredible. I can't say enough good things about it. I think it was well made. I think there's some reflections of the world today, having rewatched it not that long ago, that I think play really well.
That's a good movie.
I've only seen it in pieces, and I was never really into the particular comic book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Alan Moore's fantastic, but that particular book I just never really read. So,
and I'd never read the book either, and still haven't read the book. I really enjoyed the movie, and there was an air and a feel about it that I don't know that I can put into words that I really enjoyed.
My number 4 is 2019 Avengers Endgame. Seeing my favorite Avengers on screen together, I completely geeked out. And when Cap picked up Thor's hammer, I screamed like a schoolgirl. I did. It was incredible. By the way, that occurred in Thor number 390.
Oh, Stark brought props today, folks.
That is the book that Cap, he was going by the Captain in this, not Captain America, but he picks up Thor's hammer for the first time.
There's a lot to love about that movie, but there's also a lot of just eye rolls in that movie for me. So that scene was cool, but as someone who reads comic books, you tend to always know that of course Captain America can pick up Thor's hammer because he's probably the most true superhero in the whole Marvel universe. I don't know if I agree with that pick necessarily, but
I kind of agree with both of you a little bit. I found it was a very entertaining movie, but that being said, it did not make my top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of bubblegum. I love Thanos, but
No fan service, a lot of fan service in that movie, I felt, but I still watched it. I was still thoroughly entertained.
Now we're down to the top 3, guys. The top 3. And we're going to see.
Where we're going to openly mock each other because I know there's going to be some stuff on mine so I'm just saying.
Number 3.
my number 3 pick is a little controversial because if we're doing comic book movies, this was actually a book first, then comic books, but to me it was more related to the comic book than the actual source material, and I pick Conan. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wow.
The first time you could ever get someone that would actually look like Conan,
Sure.
and Thusla Doom. I mean, it's got all the great stuff. The words are sparing. The soundtrack is phenomenal. A lot of the soundtrack does the storytelling, and to me, it's one of the best superhero type movies that exist. Mock away.
No.
I can't do it.
I know.
I can't do it. You're absolutely right on every account. He looked like what was, at least I know from the comic books, I haven't read many of the books. He looked like Conan. As soon as he walked out, you're like, oh yeah, that's Conan. So yeah, excellent pick, dude. I want to mock you for something, but I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
That's a great pick. I didn't even think of that to put it on my list.
I chose Captain America: First Avenger for a lot of the same reasons you said. I don't know that there's been a better origin told in any of these superhero movies for the main character. There was a real heart to it that you saw in the Steve Rogers character before he even became Captain America, and that just transfers, and that's the whole point of the character. And let's be honest, Major Carter, she's not hard to look at, but yeah, I absolutely love that movie. I think it's a solid representation.
What a great ending too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fake room and the ball game going on, and he's like, man, this isn't right. And then he's out in Times Square, and it's just like, what is going on? And
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
And he's like, makes the comment about the date, and he's like, what a great ending.
My number 3 is 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, which we've already discussed. Wow, the story is awesome. The cast is great. Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec, representing the mouse rat. Awesome. All the characters from the comic books are fun to watch, and the interactions with one another, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, just an awesome movie. It was captivating. I loved it.
And you just, who'd have thought that Chris Pratt could have pulled that off, having come from where he was, currently at in his career-wise, and beef up like that. Anyone could get beefed up when you got a whole team of people doing it, helping you out. But, taking a bunch of obscure, Groot, Rocket Raccoon, throwing them together and, putting them out
That's
there.
absolutely right. People that read comic books don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And you're able to take that and relate it to an audience, and they love them characters. I agree 100%.
Number 2.
My number 2's been mentioned already, and there will be some mocking probably, but I'm going to say Batman 89. And the reason why I think Batman 89 is so high on my list is because I was 19 years old when it came out. The only other real superhero movie had been in the 70s with Superman. The last, Superman movies were horrible. There really wasn't a good superhero movie up in that time, and it was a big deal when that thing came out. The even going to the poster, which is just the bat signal. I mean, especially when you got those big actors in there, and Keaton and Jack Nicholson. The poster was just the bat signal. I mean, so it was pretty phenomenal, and the soundtrack. Prince, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It was fantastic for the time that it was, and I still enjoy watching it. And despite the costume limitations with Batman's neck and not being able to move his head, and there's lots of things you could rip on about it, but it is, to me, is like one of the bigger deal type, well put together movies.
I agree 100%. Like I said,
Yeah.
it was already on my list.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only movie to this day that I actually stood in line beforehand.
Yeah, I did
To
too.
wait on.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's the only movie ever.
Wow.
Well, I saw Star Wars, and that was
Yeah.
I remember standing in line with my dad on that one. So, but yeah,
I didn't have it on my list.
Okay.
we had other bad days.
My number 2, and this I know I'm going to get mocked for, I chose Deadpool. And it's more about what that movie could represent to the future of comic book movies and superhero movies than the actual movie itself. Don't get me wrong. Loved the movie. Was thoroughly entertained. Laughed. It was everything that Deadpool should have been and delivered 100%. Kudos to Ryan Reynolds for making that happen. But it just goes to show that there's some adult themes in comic books that I don't know that you can get in without an R rating. And I'm talking about my beloved X-Men. And this shows that you can do it and have success.
No, I'm not gonna mock you much
Much. Well, I appreciate that. Mr.
because it
Mesnar.
is a good movie. It's a number one, I think, rated R. It has the highest sales of a rated R movie, I think, or close to it, or at least it did when it came out. And it's entertaining and it's funny and it's adult for sure, but what taints me on Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds is the same. He's Deadpool in every movie he's in. He's like the same kind of cadence, the same kind of, one-liner type stuff. And so really it's Ryan Reynolds, you know what I mean, more than it is Deadpool. But I did enjoy it. I did like it. And
Yeah, and I would agree with that to a certain degree, but if it's not Ryan Reynolds doing that, who else could do that?
That's a good point.
I don't question the casting. I think it was perfect for him.
Yeah,
I just
your
but
point
it's
is valid,
just-
bud.
it's just
So thank you for going lightly.
yeah.
Well, my number 2 is something that's already been mentioned, and that is Iron Man, my cousin Tony Stark. Now, I would say, they did some updating on the origin, but they did it, and it was well done. It was a super great movie. Robert Downey Jr. was made for this part. The cockiness, he's a super genius. He's a ladies' man. Awesome. And like Kenny was saying, the special effects for the suit of armor, I don't think they could have done this movie, 10 years before when they did it, 20 years before, because technology wasn't there.
It's hard to find any faults with that movie. Maybe if you're a purist, like you said, maybe the origin would throw you a little bit, but like so we talked about it when we discussed it earlier. He is Tony Stark.
Yeah.
That's the perfect storm of casting, special effects, story. And they did change the origin, but he's not in Vietnam.
Right.
We're not in the Vietnam conflict.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense to have
Are we?
and maybe it's still going on.
All right, here we are. This is the big enchilada.
Yes, sir.
The superhero comic book enchilada right now. Our number 1.
The Big Enchilada, number 1.
My number 1, Dread, with Carl Urban. It is the best superhero movie made from a comic book, bar none. You take a A-lister type star who's knocked it out of the park in Lord of the Rings and Star Trek, and they throw him in here and they cover his face for the entire movie because Judge Dredd never takes his helmet off. It is the best depiction of a comic book character. you go back and look at the Sylvester Stallone one. He loses the helmet in the first 5 minutes, and because it's all about Sylvester Stallone, less about the character. Mega City is, the depiction of that is just fantastic, and then the whole movie is just this horrible, conflict. And to Dredd, it's just, well, yeah, this was a Tuesday. It's like that's the world he lives in, and it is captured just beautifully.
I wish I could argue the lore with you. I've never read them, so I'll take your word that it's a good depiction. The movie itself, though, I'd have to disagree. I didn't really care for. And like you said, Carl Urban, he's a stud. I mean, everything he touches, he's good in. I hate to say that, and I apologize for...
No, don't apologize. The fact that it didn't probably do as well probably shows that it's more in line with what was going on in the comic books. And,
sure.
So... And that's
So
why you
it's
probably
an
haven't seen
interesting
it.
pick,
You
man.
probably
I'm gonna
haven't
go back
seen it.
and
You
watch
probably
that.
haven't seen a sequel, but
Yeah.
the way they depict, the human death, they basically scrape them up because they're going to use them as food, type of thing. It's like, okay, recycle these people who've just been killed, and you just kind of just go about your day, and it's like, yeah, dystopian future right there. That's the best.
Well, I think it was a good movie. I don't know if it's number one worthy, but it is a good movie.
My number one, we've already talked about, is Iron Man. I have to go there. For everything we talked about, and for being a nerd and a geek, that movie set it off. That showed that these characters were relatable to a modern audience. And we've got now, 12, 13 years of comic book movies, for the most part, that have been entertaining. There's a few exceptions in there we won't get into today, but just because of what it did for the genre and really bringing Marvel back, because they were on the ropes in many ways, it has to be number one.
Well, I can't. Yeah, I mean, it's a great movie. Jon Favreau, who's our age, he tends to love the same things that I like and care about them. That's why Mandalorian was probably so good. That Marvel borrowed like $1 billion, $700 million to make some movies, and that was their first one out of the gate. So everything was hinging on whether or not Iron Man was gonna, if it was a success or not, whether they were gonna do that whole phase one.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? We all put that movie down.
Yeah.
Awesome. For me, it was between the Iron Man movie and this movie for my number one. But I think Kenny already knows what that number one movie is going to be, because I collected these comic books my entire life. 2011's Captain America, The First Avenger. Now, I mean, this is the underdog story of all time. 90-pound weakling, gets the secret soldier serum, gets hit with the Vita rays, and next thing you know, he's Captain America. And then you have, the Red Skull, who, if you've read the comic books, he was the most evil character, hand-picked by Hitler to become the Red Skull. I mean, and of course he became evil incarnate. And then, so to see those two on screen together, epic. My only wish is they had used the young version of Bucky, the 12-year-old version, because actually in World War II, there were literally kids as young as 12 years old that signed up in the U.S. military and served during that time. So it could have actually been done and not been far-fetched.
Yeah, I mean, great movie. I loved it. Again, period piece. I really enjoyed the casting, and the writing of that story was pretty fantastic too. That him jumping on that, then throwing that dummy grenade and him jumping on it. Get away, and everyone's just like looking at it. Everyone runs away, and there he is. He's like, and it's probably the only movie that I've liked Tommy Lee Jones in. So,
Coal Miner's Daughter?
No.
Maybe Men in Black.
Man of the House.
All right. Well, that's our top 10. Write in the comments if you agree with these top 10s. Maybe you think there should be a better choice. We want to hear what you have to say.
It's Dredd.
Also, make sure we're going to put down the link to Bravo Blast Entertainment, which is Kenny Mesnard's company. He's a comic book creator there. Check it out. What's your next book coming out?
Working on a 5-issue story called HasCon. If you like the TV series like V, Aliens, or, that kind of thing, take over planet, and, and then we're fighting them with, using superhero type characters in the vein of like the Hulk or some other monstrous sort of character.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm Stark.
I'm Great White.
Kenny Messnard.
And we'll see you in our next video. Hey, leave a comment down below and click that like and Hey, wait a second. You haven't subscribed to our Great White.
Yeah.
You see this guy right here?
That guy?
Yeah, he hasn't subscribed.
What do you mean he hasn't subscribed?
He hasn't subscribed.
Dude, subscribe.
Click it.
Click it.
Click it.
Click it.
Click it.